Good afternoon, people, and ¿cómo estás? Welcome to the Average Joe Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Jay Real, bringing you a Friday edition of the show. Now, we have a lot of sports to cover, but we are going to start off with some NBA news. And the Pacers are on fire. They're 5-0, the only undefeated team left in the NBA. But we're going to go right here with the Pacers. They are stacked. They have a good team, a young team, and they should be able to stack up well against the Heat if they meet them in the playoffs. Really good, because right now it's really hard to see who's going to match up against the Heat well in the playoffs. Now, let's look at the Pacers. They have good defense. They have some big guys down in the paint that can bang up against LeBron and now Greg Oden, who's the big man that the Miami Heat brought in. So they'll stack up well nicely against the Heat. And then we just found out that the Knicks' Tyson Chandler will be out 4 to 6 weeks with a leg injury. I believe it's a broken bone in his leg. And he's going to be missed there, but as long as they get him back, the season's long enough, they should recoup that. Now, the Celtics finally get a win against the winless Jazz. And the Celtics are a very young team with a new coach, so it'll be interesting to see how through the season they play out. But they definitely don't look like they're going to be they're not going to be prepared or do anything for the playoffs this season. We'll see as the seasons next year and the year after that, they might make a little bit of a move. And then the Spurs. The Spurs are looking well, but this is the problem with the Spurs, folks. They look well every year during the regular season. Why? Because they rest their players, they let them play in spurts, and the team's bench is good enough to get them wins while their superstars are on the bench. Now, this is the second or the other side to that. When they go to the playoffs, they can't rest their stars as much. They have to play in order to continue in the playoffs. So just like last year, if any of you remember watching it, when the Heat met up with the Spurs, those last games looked ridiculous because you had old men going against LeBron James and the youthful Heat. Same thing's going to happen again this year, we predict. If the Spurs make it to the playoffs, which we expect them to do, they're the big team coming out of the West. They're still the most popular because the Clippers haven't made a move to take over that side, and no other team. Oklahoma City is right there on the cusp, but as we already told you, their superstars already kind of given in, saying, well, if we win, we do, and if we don't, who cares? I don't care. I'm not losing any sleep over not winning. So his mentality has just been shot for whatever reason. So we expect the Spurs to be there again, probably going against the Heat, first round, second round of the playoffs. And they're going to get beat down because they're too old. They just can't sustain that long season and then go deep into the playoffs against the Heat. That's just what we think about it. Well, tell us what you think. Do you think the Spurs, at their age, can make it deep into the playoffs and possibly a championship? We'd be interested to know. Now, going back a little bit, we have to say Bill Russell, he's the legendary Boston player, has like 12 championships, 11 All-Star games. I mean, the list is as long as my arm of records and things this man has accomplished. Bill Russell is finally getting honored in a way that most folks feel that he should have a long time ago, and that's with a 6-foot, 10-inch, solid brass statue that will immortalize him forever for Boston fans there at the Celtics Stadium. So kudos to him. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an amazing player, probably one of the top 5 players of all times in the NBA, and now he's getting a little bit of credit. So, moving on from the NBA news, we have Kansas City, still the only undefeated team in the NFL, and people still cannot give them respect. They still will not give them kudos for being. Now, folks, we know that they have not beat the Denvers and the Saints and the Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, we know they haven't beat those teams yet, but let's get real. They've beaten 9 NFL teams that have huge salaries per team. They have all-stars, superstars, all pro players, and they're still 9-0. And I cannot, for the reason of me, start to not give them the first place ranking of best team right now. Denver looks beatable, and the Colts showed you that. You got the Patriots, who look disarray from game to game. And then you got San Francisco, who we thought were going to be the cream of the crop this year. They're sitting at 6-2, and you just don't know what they're going to do. So Kansas City being undefeated, 9-0, we have to give them props. We have to give them the respect of being a 9-0 team. So let me break this down for any of you out there that still have not given Kansas City respect. Let's say they go, I don't know, 11-5, 12-4. Okay? They've only lost 4 games all season, 5 games all season, because we know they're not going to go undefeated. That's evident for sure. But I mean, come on, any team would be respected if they ended their season 12-4, you know, even 10-6. Give me a freaking break. So anyway, kudos to Kansas City, still undefeated, and hopefully they'll get some respect if they can beat up on Denver going down this weekend. And it's going to be a tough game, but Kansas City has the running game and they have the defense to keep Peyton Manning off the field. So interested to see that game. And then we have some sad news. Hall of Famer Tony Dorsett has just been diagnosed with CTE. Now, what's that stand for? Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy, something like that. It basically means it's an issue with the brain, and they believe it stems from concussions during their playing time. This is the only thing we got to say about that. Now, it is sad. It is sad that athletes are getting long-term effects from playing football. But folks, they choose their game. They choose the lifestyle. And I guarantee you, if you put 100 guys in a room and said, hey, you can make $5 million a year, but you might sustain some long-term brain, headaches or some other issues with, some memory loss or whatever, but for about 8 or 10 years, you're going to be a millionaire. You're going to roll in the fancy crowds. You're going to live the high life. I guarantee you more guys than not would take that job in a heartbeat. So, again, it's a choice. We feel really bad for any player that gets injured, especially long term. And it is kind of sad that Tony Dorsett, being one of the best running backs in the history of the NFL, is going to suffer these long-term symptoms. But our prayers go out to him and his family. We hope that he can recover or get some kind of medication or find some way to live a normal life for many years with this CTE diagnosis. But again, just hang in there, Tony. We loved watching you every Sunday and all the holidays you played. Now, we're going to wrap up, and I had to give a little bit of time here because we're beating this down like beating this with like a dead horse here, and it doesn't make a lot of sense because we don't have all the information. So again, we're only going to try to pick apart and look at what we know that's out there and what's factual. And this is concerning the Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito situation. For any of you that are not aware of it, Richie Incognito has been indefinitely suspended for Miami Dolphins for bullying, harassing, intimidating, whatever you want to call it, his fellow player, Jonathan Martin. Jonathan Martin, just last week, walked away from the team, left his job, and just went home, basically, fed up with the bullying. What happened after those few days, it started out that it was just a lot of teasing that went too far, and it didn't look like anything really serious was going to happen, and then some emails or voicemails and some text messages were released. We still don't know for sure how they released and who released them, but it looks like most of the information that was being leaked is from the Jonathan Martin side about these voicemails and text messages where Richie Incognito uses profanity, uses racial slurs, calls him a half-breed, N-word, says he wants to do ugly and horrible things to his mother, on and on and on. Once those were released, the team started looking very hard into this, doing an investigation. So did the NFL. Suspended Richie Incognito indefinitely, and Jonathan Martin had checked himself into a facility for treatment of depression and also some, I believe, mental instabilities or issues or something like that. And that's where we are now. Now, that was starting last week. Today, there's so much more information out now. From reports coming out this morning, the messages that were leaked out were not fully divulged. There is, I believe, from what the reports say, about a sentence or at least 2 to 3 seconds of tape or manuscript that was not written down fully with the text message or the voicemail, and it read something like, he's chewing this guy out, he's using all these profanities, his mother, blah, 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 blah. And then, supposedly at the end of these recordings, there's some laughing from Incognito, and he says, call me back. Now, in the context that we're starting to see here, this could have been a situation where someone thought they could cross the line with somebody and could go there with somebody, but was mistaken, that this person didn't appreciate the context that the language was coming at him, didn't appreciate the profanity and the things about his mother, and could have drove this to where it is now today. We don't have all the facts. We just heard those stories coming out of Miami this morning, so we want to share them all with you, that this is possibly someone thought they could push somebody further than they really could, and it's getting worse. This is going to end good for nobody. Nobody's going to be happy about the ending of this. The trail has been laid out for lawsuits. The trail has been laid out for possible, wrongful termination, all these different things. And it's just spiraling. It's getting bigger and worse, and it's just a total circus right now. Moving on from that, we've been listening to talk radio and other sports shows going on and on about the freedom that Richie Incognito's teammates have allowed him to have with the verbiage and the language that he can use in the locker room. And I have to call BS on that. There's no way in the world that they can say, because he has street cred, as I quote a very successful talk host, radio show person this morning, that is ridiculous. There is no way on the face of the earth that you're going to sit here and tell me that players are backing up Incognito because he has street cred and he can say the N-word, he can threaten people's life, he can say he wants to sleep with their mothers and do horrible things to them. There is no way on the planet that that's okay. I don't care how much street cred you have. That is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard someone say. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe that certain races can make friends with races outside of their ethnicity, and then they might be able to say certain things and talk certain ways. I understand that, because everyone has friends that talk to them certain ways. This is a problem though, folks. Just like Riley Cooper, he had nobody have his back when he said what he said, which was wrong, at a concert. Now, again, I guess different situations can cause different reactions, but folks, if you're going to tell me that having street cred can allow you to treat somebody and talk to them the way that this man did, Jonathan Martin, then I'm going to have to say you need to have your head examined, because that doesn't make no sense. And we're going to leave it at that. We're not going to beat it down anymore. We feel that there's a lot to this story that'll come out. It's possible that Incognito didn't even mean to bully Jonathan Martin, but it doesn't matter. It's how Martin perceives it. Folks, look at the new laws of harassment. And please, Stop with the, it's a locker room environment. It's totally different than your normal workplace. Well, yeah, of course it is different. It's different because guys listen to music in there. They eat their food in there. They chill in there. They probably tell stories and dirty jokes to all the guys in there. That's fine. It's a freaking locker room. Don't act like it's freaking the Pentagon and it's so top secret that no one understands what goes on in a football locker room. And these morning shows, and I'm not going to say who you are, but let's just say again, it rhymes with Durham and Perel. Love these guys to death, listen to them all morning, but give me a freaking break. A locker room is not so mysterious. It's not so hard to understand what goes on in there. You have people, human beings that go to work, and yes, they play a very physical sport, and yes, it's high octane, all that stuff, but it's not so mysterious. I don't care if you played the game or not. It's not that big of a freaking deal. So to make it seem like no one on this planet hasn't played NFL football, doesn't understand what goes on in the locker room is, again, idiocy, because that's ridiculous. These guys are human beings. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, treated with just decency. And that's where we're going to leave it, because I'm going to start rambling on and on. But folks, don't forget, get involved with our No Bully campaign here in Ruidoso, New Mexico. It's the No Bully Zone. If any of you are out there listening, watching, and you feel you've been bullied and you need a place to go, talk to some friends, make new friends, become part of a family, the Player Zone, located at 2117 Sudrith in Ruidoso, New Mexico, is a No Bully Zone. And we ask anyone that wants to get involved, contact us at that address, or you can contact us by phone at 575-257-0559 and say, hey, we want our sticker, we want our plaque to put in our business window or our home window or even a vehicle to let people know we are standing up because we're tired of bullies, we're tired of kids losing their lives because of something so senseless. And just let us know. Again, this has nothing to do with money. There's no monetary value here. We don't want it. We're not asking. If you want to get involved and help the cause and stand up for bullying or anti-bullying, excuse me, then hey, we can use help with t-shirts. We can get help with logos and flyers, whatever you want to get involved with. Get with the Player Zone and they'll be more than happy to get you involved. Again, the Player Zone, they hook us up with all the cool stuff, comic books, sports cards, memorabilia of all kinds, sports, Star Wars, Magic the Gathering, everything it's an amazing store. All your birthday, Christmas, any kind of present needs, they are there for you. Cannot thank Average Joe, or Right on Time, excuse me, Earn a Delivery Service as well. We have Freestyle Jewelry and Freestyle Productions partnering up with Seeping Spring Pines RV Park and Campgrounds. Folks, this is just growing and growing. Be involved, get involved. J Real signing out. Peace and much love. We will see you Tuesday's show. Have a great weekend and God bless.
It's